Thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in each and every day, and we'll do the same without wasting a single second of your time. Bada bing, bada boom, we go into the charts. So Bitcoin got that push to the upside to the 45K region. Are we going to go to the 786 level of this diagonal pitch pan we've had pricing for over a year, coming up to that 45.8 region? We're just pulling a little standard deviation from the consolidation here to see if it would react off that 45K. Did not react thus far. So let's go ahead and look at the liquidity. What is the liquidity? Well, people lock their liquidity into the charts to get burnt to crisp by the market maker for not using a stop loss, and we get to see where those crispy characters are. So let's do it now. In the last 24 hours, 27 million in short squeeze to oblivion and 4.5 in longs as they retraced back into the breakout traders, and 10 million in longs for ETH and 7 million in shorts in the last 12 hours. You got same with ETH and BTC. I don't know what DYM is, but you're getting some liquidations off both sides of that, with ETHmatic, ADA, some longs getting retraced back into and obliterated.
Fatality.
So let's go into the heat map and see where we can gauge where it's going to go next. So looking into the 24-hour time frame, you're getting some shorts opening up here. If we go into our oscillator here, we're going to go ahead and throw on the liquidation levels and go into a 5-minute real quick, just to see who's interested. If we look at the open interest here, you have 3.84 billion in open interest as we get more longs here. So a retrace back into some of these longs could be the case. They did squeeze a fair amount of shorts coming up into this region. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like. So even Steven on both levels, coming back to the, you got a overlapped area here down at that 44.5 region that we could come back into, sweeping all of these 100x and their 50x and 100x overlapped brethren here, coming back to that 44.5 ish region. We'll see. This is Run for Profit Friday. All of the bond auctions for the dollar have been over. So does this mean the dollar is going to make a move higher or what? I didn't pay attention to anything other than that news was inbound, so let's go see where we can go from here. On the daily time frame, you do have a larger amount down here at 44.5 that coalesces with those 100x overlap here. So coming down to the 44.5 could be the case as we sweep into the London low from yesterday, perhaps. Let's go ahead and say what's up to the chat and then go into our momentum and reassess the levels, key levels for the math. So it doesn't look like anyone is watching. Lovely. I guess they prefer more personalities from YouTube that do Family Guy impressions or something. So either way, daily time frame closed with a large vector here as the volume stepped up to the plate. A lot of this could have been people buying at the high level. So we're going to go ahead and load a toss while that's loading on my parallels. I'm going to try to look at some of the levels here. So let's go ahead and go into the charts and take a look. Let's go ahead and remove this. All right. So yesterday, what were we saying? Well, we said that it would probably come up to that golden pocket region and we would see how it would react at that time. We don't jump into anything frivolously, so we were going to see this reaction off this fair value gap. It ate right through that gap, and didn't react off the 618 at all, really. Kind of inverted it and came up and bounced off of it and continued higher into this range level at 45.590. So this 0.5 region of that candle can be deleted, and then we're going to go ahead and make this into a deep retrace. So the next stage of coming higher could be this 2414 of this trend-based fib level, and the 786 at 46.7. We need to see if the liquidity lines up with that. Let's go ahead and delete that alert. We got that alert when it crossed the 45K mark. And going into the momentum, link in the description for more. You can scroll down to features, toggle everything from the coin's bottom, as we got the rocket ships in advance, as everyone was bearish, calling for 14K and 7K and more. We were seeing the rocket ships with the trend cloud flip with the dynamic alerts to your phone, and so on and so forth. Stochastic array and more. So let's go ahead and throw it on now. Taking a look. So we're getting a little bit of a stop hunt sequence break here after the hourly lock-in of the nuke. It didn't really hold that on higher time frames. So let's go to the higher time frame. The 3-day closed above both the baselines. So the baseline cross down event, the retrace, only came down to the cloud, and that was about all she wrote for that cross down event. If you just take the cross down for what it was worth, you got a 10% retrace from that level. Are we starting to flip the 3-day time frame? We had a previous stop hunt. Is this bullish narrative above the point of control here going to continue? That is the question. On the 3-day time frame, you're starting to get the stochastic play, and the Williams coming back above the 50 level. Does this 3-day start to take off? The thing to look out for that we reminded about was on the weekly time frame. This weekly time frame cross down event. Do we get a push up here and a sell-off wick down into that 32K kind of pre-halving retrace idea? Just putting that out there, the wrecked capital idea of this pre-halving retrace. Does it happen before the retrace, or before April? Got about 2 months for the halving, so does it start to make a little bit of a pullback into the long liquidity? Once again, you do have a large amount of open interest in longs that have yet to be reclaimed, so coming back into some of this would make sense. There were shorts that were obliterated and a lot of longs opened, and the open interest is high, so pull back into the longs would make sense. We will see. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lower time frames. Daily. Okay, so the daily cloud was inverted here as we reclaimed it with a strong daily close and 2-second daily close above it, breaking the bearish super trend, flipping it to the bullish. The rising sun event on the Williams had you at hello for that suppression event to the upside. And do we see this continue higher? Coming to the 22-hour time frame, cloud now starting to push up bullish from that Tuesday push up, starting to come up here, and the super trend following suit. The bullish trend-based fibs holding that 236, hit it twice, gave you 2 chances off that 41.9 region we were talking about, and then we were off to the races. Sweeping that 44K, coming to that 45.8 perhaps. There's a 706 up here. This is a daily resistance level at 45.697. something to look out for. We had a previous reaction off that in January. Let's go ahead and make sure we're logged in for this. Where is it? All right. Now coming to the lower time frame of the 12-hour. 12-hour also pushing up in similar fashion to the 22, and looking at the bullish divergence that occurred on the money flow, hidden bullish, as we made a higher low and a lower low on the money flow, and that hidden bullish came to fruition from Monday at that 42.3 mark. And you're getting a vector, a blue stopping volume vector in the last 12 hours, losing slight amounts of volume from the previous vector that took you up. Let's go to the 6-hour time frame, reaching the end of a sequence here in the Keystone event. Do we have this money flow and RSI still getting overbought? Does it still gain gas as the stochastic is pinned to the ceiling? Money flow also extremely overbought. Does the MACD, leading MACD, start to come up into the stochastic domain? Definitely you are running on full momentum to the upside here. Does it continue higher? Let's see. We'd have to look to the lower time frames for this. The 4-hour also putting in a Keystone sequence. The last time that happened was here on the 31st, and we pulled back about 4%. So do we get that pullback a little bit on the 4-hour time frame? The Williams is also overbought here. It took a while to meander around in a upwards fashion before we got that pullback, though. This is just arriving at that zone. The money flow and the RSI at even Steven levels. Do you start to pull back at the overbought status here on the 4-hour time frame? Looking at the hourly, we're going to do some analysis of the footprints for Bitcoin in a minute. Getting some bearish divergence on the money flow and the RSI here as we make higher highs and lower highs on this. It's possibly fatiguing into the liquidity here. Once again, you have more to the downside at that 44.4 region, so seeing a little bit of a pullback into those 100xers that we first saw. Getting a retrace on the Williams here, this possible suppression of the stochastic by the Williams here could bring us a little bit lower. If we go to where that could be, you have the super trend and the cloud down here at 44.5. This does call for that type of reaction. We did look at the liquidity just a moment ago and see that that is down there. You have a large amount down here at 44.3, 31 million. So coming down, grabbing that, even if you're going to continue higher, would make sense. They stopped out the shorts, now to stop out the late longers and try to find some support on the cloud. Okay, fairly easy to analyze here. The Bitcoin dominance took off to the races here. We were talking about the Bitcoin dominance taking over here. This was drawn before it happened and then back on Monday, and then it's starting to fill that out quite nicely. USDT dominance dropped down. We got a rocket ship. So the rocket ship insinuates upside, which means downside for the markets. The last time we had a rocket ship here, it started to play out. So does this mean that we're going to get a pullback coming up to this region? If it comes up to here on the USDT dominance, you could be getting some pullback for the markets. Looking at total 3 did come up to that region. We were also talking about, does it get a rejection off the daily resistance level? Let's go ahead and look at the higher time frame zone. We had 5 time frames overbought. We were talking about the 706 potential bounce for the altcoins with that dominance originally dropping. So the alts got a little bit of a push up here, and in total, same thing, reclaiming the cloud, possibly coming up to this gap region at 1.697 trillion. Coming to Dixie. Dixie, we were looking at the bond market auction. It was getting a little bit of a pullback here, but insinuating it wants to come up to here and reclaim this region. If the bullish narrative does take off for the dollar, then you'll have some like Euro USD, for example, coming down because the euro will take a little bit of a hit. And you had some nukes there previously. You have some red folder news for the Canadian dollar. They're not sure what's going on in Canada, but that's also getting a little bit of a pullback. So a lot of the currencies setting up for the dollar to go higher. If the dollar goes higher, the risk on assets like Bitcoin and the indices start to have a pullback. If we come to NASDAQ here, NASDAQ got a bit of a nuke locked in on the 6-hour time frame. We were putting that out to the group. We had that play-by-play over here as it started at a key level we were looking at, and then started to pull back in the moment as the nukes appeared. We were seeing the bounce too and the reclaim back up there. So do we see this again? So this nuke that appeared up here, we are catching that play-by-play in the moment. So if you're into the indices, nukes work for there too. So yep, we caught a little bit of that action, and we caught this one too, this deviation up to that 4. We had that for the group going into the pre-market here. We were looking at that before it even hit. So we were saying it will manipulate down for the news, and it did, creating some bullish divergence on the Williams, and we were off to the races. And boom, that's the trade we took, and that was a decent move. All right, so yeah, any questions if anyone's here? What's up? It's nice to have an evening live stream here in the States. Nobody else live streaming at this time. What's your thoughts on what? I can't read it. Let me see. On DOT. Okay. DOT. Let's go ahead and take a look. Thanks for stopping in. DOT. So as we saw first, before you look at altcoins, you should look at the Bitcoin dominance and whether it wants to continue higher or not, as well as the USDT dominance. That will give you insights as to whether the altcoins will take off. You can see that if Bitcoin is stealing the show and coming up here, the alts generally get paralyzed. Here's the key to look at for that. So if you look at this, if Bitcoin dominance increases while BCTs increases, the alts decrease, and then if it increases while Bitcoin pulls back, the alts will get paralyzed and dump fast. So ideally, if BTC dominance is going up, you're not looking to trade the alts that day. You want to see dominance drop. So if the dominance comes up to this region and then starts to react in a negative manner here, then you're kind of cleared for takeoff on the alts until that time. But with the USDT dominance getting that rocket ship to come up, that insinuates the market pulling back or knocking people into USDT, causing USDT dominance to rise. So this means a downside play if this goes up. Generally, this is inverse to Bitcoin, so if you flip it upside down, it will look exactly like Bitcoin looks. So if we flip that to where it is, that's what Bitcoin looks like. So with that in mind, looking at DOT, then you will see, like, I'm not looking to long it per se, but you'd be looking at a positional level. So let me go ahead and clear some of this out of here and look at the TA of the tea leaves. There we go. So we're going to pull this whole Fibonacci zone here. It pulled back to 706 level of this impulse on the 12-hour time frame. If we look at the bearish trend base fib from just this drop here to the rise here, we still haven't come out of that 786. But we came out of the 706 of this bearish trend base fib. Even if you were to get a push up, even if you were to get a push up, you still have a bearish trend base fib level on the 236 to watch out for that could possibly take us into these nether regions. If we go to the higher time frame, that was the math. If we go to the higher time frame here, basically we're at the adaptive, and the cloud is flipping bearish, but you're possibly getting above that idea on the daily cloud level. What is the cloud? Well, it's here. You can read about it, momentummaster.info. Trend clouds down in the feature. It's one of the levels we see as resistance. As we faded off the cloud, boom, drop down. If we come up above the cloud and you kiss it, like let's just say you come like this, close candle above, and then you kiss it and it's thinning and flipping, then you could see a continuation idea here. Okay, so the higher probability setup is trading with the cloud, alongside the cloud. You don't want to trade against it, because then you're met with more resistance, and it's smoother sailing to go with the cloud. So as it stands right now, we have not put the cloud on our side for a long, while we do have this cross-up event of the baselines in our favor for upside. That is not necessarily getting all three in alignment. We have the super trend and the cloud working against us, so we have two lines of defense possibly negating the long idea. With that dominance play in mind, we could be coming lower. A nuke also locked in on the stochastic array. What is the nuke? Well, if you go to the stochastic array, you can read about it. It's a fatigue across 7 time frames of information. Granted, we're here on the 12-hour. We did exactly that, which I was talking about here, which was we came above the cloud, came back, kind of confirmed it while it was flipping here, and that was your higher probability long for that small little scalperoo for like 5%. So it's all fractal in nature, and the whole thing I'm saying applies to all time frames. So we never got above this bearish super trend just yet. So we flipped 2 lines of defense, the baseline and the cloud, in our favor for long, but still have the bearish super trend being honored on the 12-hour. Coming to the 6-hour flipped the super trend, and the cloud is ambiguous at this point. No clear signal on the baselines or the trend cloud. Same with the 4-hour. You're at the top of the sequence here. Do you start to see a little bit of a pullback and that daily cloud resistance or breakthrough? I'd be more apt to see it come down to this level, if I'm being honest. Like, sure, if you're in a long, what you'd want to see is it continue above that daily cloud and continue higher. If you're looking for an entry model for a long, it would be to come down to this level and react off of the 786 of this impulse to the upside and find a order block idea down in here. You're already respecting the 236 of the bearish nature here on dot, so you're kind of setting yourself up for a reaccumulation idea. If we put this into price channel, we're also at the resistance point of the top of the channel here, so it could come on down to that level without hesitation. You have a lot of points of confluence to see that cloud resistance hold true and us dump down to there. So with the dominant USDT dominance and Bitcoin dominance, and Bitcoin possibly pulling back in mind, you could see this pull back. I'm more keen to see this idea come down to fruition. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that made sense. So we got that keystone level the last time here. Pull back. Pull back. Do we get a little bit of a pullback? All right. Yeah, no problem. All right, so we're going to basically see, does it get a bit of a pullback to that 44.3 region and below? We're going to look for a possible slight push first, as Hong Kong likes to do before it fades. You always rise up before you drop, and you drop before you rise. So if we look once again at the liquidity, there's probably going to be some 100x shorts that they could grab first. Looking at the open interest, a lot of longs closing out up here. Small shorts opening, but not the open interest, still mighty high in general. So pulling back into some of these longs that opened up in the open area, they already squeezed out the shorts, so coming back to the longs would make sense. Coming back into that 44.7-ish zone, possibly 44.5. Yeah, so it's mighty thick to the downside, so that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Do we come a little bit lower? Pull back into the 100x. All right, ladies and gents, that's all the time I have for today. Got another meeting. It's Friday. Got end of year evaluations to do, so I'm quite busy. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment, of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in each and every day, and we'll do the same, bringing the fire, the accuracy, the precision, all that fun stuff, and we'll catch you on the